Ever wondered how to make the perfect meatballs? Today, you are in for a treat. Knowing how to craft a good meatball can be the difference between a good meal and a great one. Our aim today is to guide you through a simple, step-by-step process to create the ultimate meatballs. We'll be covering everything from selecting the right ingredients to the final cooking process. So, are you ready to roll up your sleeves and start cooking? Let's dive in. First off, gather all the ingredients you need in one place. Let's get started with the star of our show, the ground meat. You'll need about 1.5 pounds of it. Next up, we have breadcrumbs. You're going to need about 3/4 of a cup. 2 large eggs will act as our binder, keeping our meatballs together. Now, for some flavor. Nothing beats the combination of finely chopped onions and garlic. You'll need 1 medium-sized onion and 2 cloves of garlic. And let's not forget about the spices. A generous pinch of salt and freshly ground black pepper to taste will do just fine. If you're feeling adventurous, you could also add in a teaspoon of Italian seasoning or maybe even a dash of red pepper flakes for some heat. Remember, the beauty of cooking is that you can always adjust these ingredients to your liking. Now that we have our ingredients ready, it's time to mix them. Mixing the ingredients is more than just throwing everything into a bowl. It's akin to a symphony of flavors, each playing its part to create a harmonious and savory end product. Now, let's begin our culinary symphony, shall we? First up, we have our ground meat. This will be the base of our meatballs. Go ahead and place it into a large mixing bowl. Next, we introduce our breadcrumbs. Sprinkle them evenly over the meat. The breadcrumbs are our binding agent, ensuring our meatballs hold their shape while adding a lovely texture. Now it's time to add in the eggs. Crack them in, one by one. They'll help bind the ingredients together and give our meatballs a rich, moist texture. Following the eggs, we have our fresh onions and garlic. These add a depth of flavor that can't be beat. Simply sprinkle them in, distributing them evenly throughout the mixture. And finally, we have our spices. This is where you can truly make these meatballs your own. Whether you prefer a hint of oregano, a dash of paprika, or a pinch of chili flakes, the choice is yours. Now, with all our ingredients in the bowl, it's time to get your hands dirty. Mix everything together, but remember, be gentle. Overmixing can lead to tough meatballs, and we're aiming for tender, juicy morsels. With our mixture ready, we can now shape our meatballs. Shaping the meatballs is a fun and easy step. All you need are your hands or a handy-dandy ice cream scoop. Now let's get our hands dirty, shall we? Take a good scoop of that meat mixture we prepared and start rolling it between your palms. Aiming for the size of a golf ball is a good rule of thumb. This size ensures that the meatballs are bite-sized and cook evenly. If you're using an ice cream scoop, just fill it up and then release the meatball onto your palm and give it a gentle roll. You'll be surprised at how quickly you can whip up a batch of meatballs this way. Remember, consistency is key here. We want all our meatballs to be the same size so they cook at the same rate. No one likes an undercooked meatball, right? Now it's time for the most exciting part. Cooking the meatballs. Cooking the meatballs is where the magic happens. It's where all our efforts, from the careful selection of ingredients to the meticulous shaping, finally come to fruition. Now let's dive right into it. First off, preheating. Whether you're using an oven or a pan, preheating is a crucial step you don't want to skip. It helps to ensure even cooking and gives your meatballs that irresistible golden brown crust. If you're using an oven, preheat it to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. For those using a pan, set it over medium heat until it's nice and toasty. Now, let's talk about temperature. The perfect temperature is a balancing act. Too high and your meatballs will burn on the outside while remaining raw on the inside. Too low, and they'll take forever to cook, losing their juicy tenderness. That's why we stick to 350 degrees in the oven, or medium heat on the stove. This gives your meatballs enough heat to cook thoroughly, without drying out or burning. Moving on to cooking time. This can vary depending on the size of your meatballs, but as a general rule of thumb, you're looking at around 20 to 25 minutes in the oven. If you're cooking in a pan, it's about the same, but you'll want to turn them every 5 minutes or so to ensure even browning. But how do you know when your meatballs are cooked just right? The best way is to use a meat thermometer. You're aiming for an internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a meat thermometer, don't worry. Look for a firm feel when poked and a deep, uniform brown color throughout. Remember, practice makes perfect. Don't get discouraged if your first batch isn't exactly how you want them. Keep trying, keep tasting, and soon enough you'll be a meatball maestro. And there you have it, perfectly cooked meatballs. Now all that's left is to enjoy them. See, making perfect meatballs is not as hard as you might think. All it takes is a few simple steps. Gather your ingredients, mix them together, shape your meatballs, and cook them just right. The beauty of this recipe is the room it leaves for creativity. Feel free to tweak it, add your favorite spices, or substitute ingredients to suit your palate. The sky's the limit, so give it a try and make your perfect meatballs. Happy cooking!